I am the goddess who created the text world of Westernia. And I have been tagged with the gym. And I am doing the gym tag today. Once again, good old Pints and Paperback has tagged me with the gym tag. I guess after eating all those donuts, I need a workout. Number 1, bench press. Gives you a chance to show off. What book are you proud of having read? I'm going to say Dahlgren by Samuel L. Delany. Delany? He's a science fiction writer from he was big in the 60s, 70s, and Dahlgren is his magnum opus, and it is an extremely long novel that almost no one can finish reading. Gosh, it's really hard to describe. If you've ever read Samuel L. Delany, you'll know that he's very offbeat, but this is to the nth degree, Dahlgren. Basically, it's about a city that is out of time. It's been a while since I've read it. Some cataclysm has occurred that has shifted a city out of time or out of sync with the rest of the world, and you're never quite sure of what that cataclysm was, but the book is an experience of timelessness. I think that's the only way to describe it and understand it. It doesn't really have a plot as we would normally think a plot would be. It's, I guess you may say, a character-driven novel. But I think it is a masterpiece. And it's been rightfully described as science fiction's Finnegan's Wake. And I won't recommend it because it's not a book that I would recommend to people, but if you do pick it up, I would love to know what you think about it. Number 2, leg day. Lots of people like to skip leg day. What book, genre, author have you skipped because you don't think you can handle it, or do you wish you had skipped? Probably Western. I really have no desire to read Western. I think my dad did a little bit, and I know Louis L'Amour is like one of the greats of American literature, but it says that you don't think you can handle. It's not that I couldn't handle Westerns, maybe some true crime. Just really not into true crime novels. I don't see myself picking it up. Maybe it's because I can't handle it. I don't know. Crunches. We all know crunches are good for us. What's a book you read because you needed to get a better understanding of literature, your work, history, etc.? I'm a little bit embarrassed to talk about this, but there is a book called The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino, and I had to read it as part of my training to be a door-to-door salesman when I was in college.
Yeah, I even had to take a second job as a door-to-door vacuum salesman. This thing can pick up anything. Here's a little demonstration. I'll pour some wine, rub in some feces, and to top it off, some mustard mixed with feces. Tough stain, right? Oh crap, I forgot the vacuum.
Such an embarrassing thing to admit, but there's this company that I still believe exists called Southwestern, and what they do is they send college kids from one end of the country to another end of the country to be door-to-door salesmen over the summer. And I didn't have anywhere to go one summer, and I decided to do it, and one of the books was Greatest Salesman in the World, and I believe it's considered a Christian book, but it's mostly a book about positive thinking. If you're into that, you're into that. The Treadmill. It's all about endurance. What's a difficult or long book that you powered through? One moment. Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clark. It is a tome. I actually have a physical copy. It's been a while since I've read it, but this was a bear to get through. But it was worth it. I kind of consider this an atmospheric novel. The plot, there is a plot, but boy does it move slowly. If you want to talk about a slow-paced book, this is a slow one. But it's a great book. I really enjoyed it. It was a struggle to get through. What makes this a great book is the writing. Her writing style is just so interesting and intense. And there's a BBC series based on this, which kind of captures the atmosphere and the pacing and the mood of the novel. The novel's much better, of course, but boy, you feel like you're reading something from another era, if not another world.
I hope with all my heart to live as your friend and assistant. What do you mean by summoning me here?
What was the magic? Tell me! I know
The Treadmill. This is all about feeling good about yourself. What's a book, an author, or a genre you read because it makes you feel good or brings you joy? That has to be fantasy. Squats. The heavy weight can get you down. What's a book that you found depressing but you pushed through? This is probably way back in college. I read Bleak House by Charles Dickens. It's certainly my least favorite of any Dickens book. It's pretty long, you do have to power through it, and it is not a happy story. It's pretty darn depressing. Bicep curls. It's easy to overdo these. Name 2 authors you've read too much. I put down Piers Anthony. I love Piers Anthony's early works. I love the first 3 of the Xanth novels. I loved his Adept series, and then he wrote a science fiction one, I think it was science fiction, but Cthulhu or something. But then he just got into the weeds. I was reading all the Xanth novels and they got very predictable and boring. I don't know why I kept reading them. And I started reading his Incarnation series, which is, I think it's 6 books, but they all tell the same story from a different viewpoint. And that got old fast. And then there was an excruciating series called Bio of a Space Tyrant. And after reading half of one book, it was just like enough Piers Anthony. I've done Piers Anthony. And the other one is Terry Pratchett, simply because he was so prolific. You can get really lost in the Discworld series that you just have to step back and take a break from those books. Tricep dips. The triceps are too often ignored. Name 3 authors you need to read more. I want to say Kurt Vonnegut. I know I've read a fair amount of Kurt Vonnegut, but it's been a while and I feel like I missed out on a lot of his later works. Philip K. Dick, he's considered one of the greats in science fiction. I find him hard to read, but I like the stories, so I want to read more, but then again, I don't want to read more. He's a tough nut to crack, Philip K. Dick. And Margaret Atwood, who wrote The Handmaid's Tale, I just want to read more of her work. I think she's an important author that should be read more. And last but not least, tag people to share the literary workout routine. I'm going to tag the Deanie, the booktuber who never shows her face but plays lots of video games while reviewing books. I'm going to tag Bookish Romancey, who I shouted out for my review of Red, White, and Royal Blue because we pretty much agreed on that one. And I'll tag the bookworm Grace because she's super cute. That's it for this tag. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and may all the books you read be blessed.